Joining us today is a talented artist and filmmaker and professor. He's the director of a non-profit for arts, Kevo Art Studios, and teaches at a college with over 10 years of experience as the owner of a successful tattoo studio. Additionally, he has a background in filmmaking and has written and published several books. His story was even featured on Fox 26 News in a segment called From Inmate to Entrepreneurship, highlighting the journey from incarceration to business artistry. He's passionate about sharing his experiences with young people and believes that his unique background would provide valuable insights and inspiration to students all over the world. So, guys, help me in welcoming our special guest today, the one and only Kevo Arabi. Hi, Kevo.
Yes.
Welcome to the show.
How you doing? How you doing?
I'm great. Thank you. Thank you. So, I want to know, how did you become an artist? Have you always wanted to become an artist when you were a child or a teenager?
Uh, so being an artist is God given. I'm not sure your religious beliefs, so I like to say universe. If people don't, I don't know what people believe, but yeah, it's the talent that was given to me, and I luckily had the passion to pursue that talent.
How did you yeah, I do believe in universe and God. I'm
Okay.
spiritual but not religious.
Okay.
How did you discover your talent? How did it happen to you?
So I remember, it's funny. Sometimes a response to trauma will show you things and you don't realize you're doing it. I have a friend who he dealt with trauma by playing video games, and he grew up to be a person who works on technology. He likes to take video games apart. He likes to figure out what makes them when we were younger. And it was so weird. But as we got older, I saw that out of all of us, he loved video games. We liked playing video games. He loved everything about a game. And I remember when I was younger, I was very interested in how things were created. I wouldn't just say drawing or just movies. I was interested in creativity. I was very when I saw Sonic the Hedgehog, that's the first thing that I remember drawing. I remember thinking, how where does it come from? And then once I got a little older enough to read about, other artists, I realized, oh, all this stuff is coming out of people's minds. So creativity is how I got started.
I love that. I love that. And so how did you then go on to pursue this path as an artist? Because I know you also have a unique background, and when you decided
Yes.
to go and pursue art, I mean, I'm sure your parents or your friends around you might be saying things like, "Are you sure? Are you serious about it? It's
Well,
not
I
gonna be
wasn't necessarily raised by my parents. I
okay."
met my parents as I was getting older, and of course, art isn't one of those things that most parents will support. But I pursue art in different ways. So I've been in jail before. When I was in jail, that's when I really, really had time to actually write. So that's where I wrote my first books. When I was in the streets, I used to sell drugs. I used to get tattoos. So that's how I got into tattooing. When I got into tattooing, I wanted to be better. That's how I got into school. My wants became my reality. You get what I'm saying? So just off of my experience, I wanted to do better. I wanted to get better. I wanted to do things. So slowly but surely, I became more involved in art. Um, in terms of like how it's more of a journey. It's more of a journey. It kind of just everything fell into place within my given actions. My actions created my reality.
Wow, I love that your action creates your reality. But before action, you need to have an inspiration, right? An
Yeah,
idea. So
yeah.
can you tell us, because I was looking through your website, I love your art, and what is your art all about? I'm curious.
Well, my art is in terms of my fine art. If I have a painting, I take an idea and I say, how can I express this idea visually? Uh, how can I compose this in a way to make somebody not want to stop looking at it? So I try to make my paintings simple enough, but complicated enough that people will look around and actually enjoy looking at the painting as how the entire thing is composed. I look at it as a frame, not almost on a plane, not as something pretty to look at. I look at it as like the actual piece is what I'm showing you. So you have to look at the piece, and now you're looking at the story within the piece, the colors within the piece, the components within the piece. You're not just looking at it. You can't. I don't want you to glance at my paintings. So they're about either political issues or real life issues. Um, I like to think of myself as when I paint as like a visual historian because I also like to use contemporary issues and then put a twist on it. That's why a lot of my paintings, the title will help you figure out what it's about. But that's not the only art. You know, art is also my writing is also art. My filmmaking is also art. I recently published a book, What Do We Do Now? And I'm doing a play for that in April. And that's art because I could not figure out how to paint it. So I wrote it. You know, I wrote the story. You get what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, totally. So how do you define art? What is art to you?
That's a great question. I love this question. I define art as something that we create for others' pleasure, for other people's pleasure, that they can enjoy more than once. And the reason why I say more than once is because art is something, let's say you go see the Nutcracker, right? If you love ballet, you can watch that every year for the rest of your life. You can say, I want to do this. I want to watch the Nutcracker every November. If you go see a play, you can watch the same exact play. It will never get old. Your favorite song never gets old. You know, so that's how I look at art. Something that we create to enjoy more than once, like over and over and over again. I can go to look at the Mona Lisa once a year for the rest of my life, and I will like it more or have an opinion more. You know, it's just something we could do all the time, over and over again.
Well, I love that. I love that. So, when I was doing research on you, you said your artwork documents human experiences, ideas, and conversations that you cannot put into words.
Yeah.
So, I want to know, as an artist, where do you draw inspiration from? And what has
Okay.
always been your biggest inspiration for creating art?
Wow, I really like that question. I want to start with the second question. What has been my biggest inspiration, right? So it honestly depends on the piece because I love human experiences. I think that the best work I've ever seen has come from human experiences. And I'll give you several examples. I'll give you my book, What Do We Do Now? The play. Nobody else could have wrote that because of my experience in my life. I'm the only person I know that has experienced what I experienced. The play is about an African American family who has all of these struggles that African Americans deal with, and they have a neighbor who's African, who's like West African, who comes to visit. And a lot of people here in America don't experience that type of blackness. Like, are you black if you're African, or are you? And it just goes on with different issues from the '90s and the '80s. But I put it in 1965, right? So the play is based on 1965, but it's about all the years around it. So when I say human experiences, it's very hard to write that if you don't have a lot of research in these experiences. My second example would be my favorite Picasso painting. It's called Guernica. The Nazis used to test their bombs, right? They used to test them. They used to just blow up stuff. And they blew up a town called Guernica. And I mean, like 50% of the population, like Ross, lost everything in Guernica, right? So Picasso had this beautiful response in a painting with no color. Like it's just literally a black and white painting. It's huge. I think it's like 20 feet tall. And the name of the painting is Guernica. And to me, it personifies. It's a beautiful way to make a statement about anti-war without going to war. So if Guernica was a poem, it would not be as effective. If Guernica was a movie, I don't think it would have been. It had to be a painting. So that's another example of how human experiences inspire me. You know, because I see it happen with Picasso. My final example would be I just thought of this today actually. I was driving and a 50 Cent song came on. It's called Mini Man. And the older that I get, the more I understand the song. based on like even now you're more knowledgeable about the background and stuff that happened. And basically, um, the song opens up with him saying, "They put money on my head. Get your refund. I ain't dead." And you later find out that there was actually a hit on 50 Cent. Somebody put a hit on him and tried to kill him, and then he killed. You know, I don't know if he killed them, but the person who tried to kill him ended up dying. They got killed, and I don't think you get that song. That is a great. It's a well composed song. It is about murder, but still, it's a well composed song. I don't think that song happens had the human experience not have been there, and that's why authenticity is hard to beat. You can't be. I'm a huge fan of people benefiting from the truth, but you can't have a run if you're not authentic. It's very hard to sustain a lie.
So, so that is the second question, right? So the first question is, where do you draw inspiration from, like on a daily basis, whether it's
Well, I'm
listening?
always looking for something. I'm always um I think that a lot of artists do this, but I don't think a lot of artists take action on it. I continually look for content that I can create something. While I'm looking at you, I'm sucking in a either a character or your facial features or the composition of this microphone stand. The way that it's composed, the third that it's in, it it looks very professional. It looks like you're subconsciously saying that you're an interviewer or you're in a field of a microphone. It doesn't matter what it is, it has to do with a microphone. I don't look at you and see a masseuse or a kitchen cleaner, you know. So I'm constantly looking at details to do something with it. So let's say if I wanted to start my show, it would ring immediately. Like 10 years from now, if I ever started a podcast, I would know, hey, you got to have a mic in the frame. Because I remember when that woman, her name was Joy, Joy, she had the mic in the frame. It just looked more legit. You know what I mean? So I'm just inspired by every single little detail. And I love rough stuff. So whenever I make art, I don't like to be perfect. Even with tattoos, I like rough looks. I like raw looks because of nature. And some people like that style, some people don't. And I'm just always in everything. I'm looking for inspiration in everything.
And this is branding.
Yeah, it's branding. Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh huh.
And the next question that I want to ask is, as a creator ourselves, as a podcaster, sometimes we get into creativity blocks. So how
Yeah.
do you personally, as an artist, filmmaker, or writer, how do you overcome creative blocks? I'm sure there are days where you just don't feel inspired to do anything or to create. So
No,
what do you
I don't
do?
have that problem.
Okay.
I honestly think that I think I've read so much that I forgot about that issue. I think that somewhere along the line, I remember I did a tattoo of Kobe, and I was never a Kobe fan, but I was always a fan of his mentality. And I remember people would send me. I remember I dated a girl, and she told me it's the best compliment I ever got in my life to this day. She told me that she would let Kobe Bryant play basketball for her life, and she would let me create art for her life.
Oh,
And I never was a Kobe fan, like even, but I've always respected his mentality. So I never had a problem of writer's block, art block, because I look at it as like if I can't finish something, it's for something else. I really love Prince. The way he worked, I think that's a great comparison to how I work. He just tries to create something. He doesn't care if it's finished, unfinished, good, bad. If you keep creating, you can always use it later. And I think that's where I'm big at. As I'm growing, especially in success, like I've become very successful in my own right, but uh, I think that the blocks that I deal with are different experiences just because it's me. I think they're more personal. So I run into issues with uh I may not like what somebody stands for. So it that could hinder me, you know. So let's say if I find out, I'm sorry, my allergies allergies are bad. If I find out that I'm working with a guy or girl and I find out they're doing like sex trafficking or something. I know I'm random as hell, but sex trafficking, it will really mess with my creativity because it will become more about them, and I will be so mad or so irritated by them that I wouldn't be focused on the work. But in order to once I start something, if I'm working on anything, like it works in my head first. So the first thing I do is if I'm painting a picture, I paint it in my head. It never comes out how I thought it would be ever. Like literally never. Uh, I've never painted a painting in my head and put it on the canvas and it turned into that. I paint it in my head and then I think about the size, the colors, and all of that stuff. The ideas and the concepts, I research them to make sure that it's accurate information that I'm conveying through my feelings. If I'm writing a book or a movie or play, I do the same thing. I watch it in my head. I watch the full thing too. I don't ever. I guess that's probably why I don't get a block because I watch whether it sucks or it doesn't suck. I try to start the book in my head and I try to read it all the way through. And let's say if the book ends up 300 pages, the book in my head is probably like 40 pages. You know what I'm saying? So when I say read it all the way through, I'm not like literally reading page by page. I'm just like, oh, that's good, that's good. Even with a movie, if I make a movie in my head, if it's a 90-minute film, the film in my head might be 20 minutes, but I'll know the beginning, middle, end, and so some scenes in between, some flashes of it. And then I just start. Like, honestly, you can't beat starting. You have to start more than once, though. You have to, because you might have to start today, and then you might have to start tomorrow, and then you might have to start. It's really about starting, not finishing.
It's really about starting, not finishing. Yeah, because a
This is
lot of
going
people
to get
they are,
done. It's going to get done if you just keep
yeah,
on working on it. It's going to get done.
yeah, yeah. I like that. I like that. So you mentioned it's very interesting because you earlier you mentioned about that you are a success. You are successful. I love that. So how do you personally define success as an artist?
Well, I'm a full time artist. It's very hard to pay your bills making art. Um, most artists are starving artists. Most artists are very broke or they're working a different job. I don't. There's no money that I make that's not art. Um, so all of my money is made by art. How I define success is based on what you've been through. So if you're a millionaire's kid and you're successful for running your parents' company, you're not you're not a successful millionaire. You're successful at not ruining your parents' company. You get what I'm saying? So I'm a successful artist. so, so I define success based on what you've been through. Whatever you overcome. So if you like I've beat a lot of odds. Um two parent households, the likeliness for any amount of success is a lot higher than someone from a one parent household. I didn't have either parents. High school dropouts, the likeliness of them being successful is very low. And I didn't drop out luckily, but I missed my graduation and I went to prison. I went to jail when I was younger. People who have records uh, are a lot less successful than people who do not have records. I've been to jail several times. People who are from the streets, especially African Americans who live that life, either end up dead or in jail. I've been shot before. I've been in shootouts before. So, given that, you don't expect to hear me being a director of my own nonprofit for art, doing after school programs for the community, hosting art programs, teaching art in college, teaching art to kids primarily in the summer, um, doing shows at museums, writing my own play, casting my own play, producing my own play, directing my own play, and get in the theater to say we want your play. That's not done for people like that come from where I come from without diligence. And again, based on what I've been through, that's a huge success.
And how did you turn your life around, being in jail and being on the street and selling drugs? How did you turn your life around?
Well, I don't think that I think that it's about what you think and what you know because it's not like I did a 180 or nothing because if this is a 180, in front of us, I think I just looked at stuff further or differently. Like I looked at an object and I didn't see how you can look at an object and not see what everybody else sees. I looked at my situation and I didn't see what I used to. Somebody came here the other day. I'm at my tattoo studio right now, and it was like, man, I remember your car. I had a white BMW. It had Lamborghini doors. It had white rims. I was probably like 19 years old. I don't know how much money I spent on this car, but I had a homeboy, Jono. He was like the car god to me. He'd take a car and he'll make it like beautiful. But that was the thing, slabs. It was you get a car, you make it better. And I believe that being from the streets gave me an asset that is valuable that to people who are not in the streets. So when I was able to convert, I had a huge advantage over other people. And this is to answer your question. I think that it wasn't about changing my life. It was more about changing my mind. Because when I was in college, I was able to navigate through a lot of bullshit that people would be stuck on. Like they would be, it's Monday, the bullshit happens. It's Thursday, I'm over here and they're over here. Their mind is still wrapped around it. And I think that I wouldn't have been that way had I not been a product of my environment. It just makes you more. I had somebody tell me, say, "Oh man," they said, I noticed something on the internet. Whenever I notice some bullshit, I always point it out." They said, I made a comment to myself, I don't see how other people don't see this. And he said, it was one of my clients. He said, maybe you were trained to notice stuff like that, and subconsciously, I think you are. I think the survival mentality of people in the hood just makes you either put up or shut up. And everybody doesn't get it, but most people get it. It's just that most people don't change their beliefs when they get anything out of it. Like they still have those same skills, but once they have $1,000,000, a lot of them don't want to change their mind or change their ways. They kind of want to keep those same ways. And that's the adjustment. That's the hard part.
Wow, I can tell just by what you just said, you work a lot on your mindset. And
Yeah.
as the saying goes, change your mind, change your life, right? So, and I want to go back to what we talked about earlier. You talk about starving artists, and people think art is not a career path to pursue, like
Yeah.
seriously. So, what would you say to people who are passionate about art, who want to become an artist, but also too afraid to pursue it because they think it's not going to make them money or it's not going to survive? How?
Well,
What would you?
I think that in terms of money, you got to get over yourself because money is like a different field. The art world isn't the. If you want to make a lot of money, go get into finance. Go learn about money. Go learn about real estate. Go learn how to do what most millionaires do, which is real estate investing or something. Go sell something. Now, in terms of art, it's about creating. I'm just fortunate enough to be making money making art. It's like a boxer. People don't get into boxing to make money. Floyd Mayweather made a lot of money, but he was boxing for money. Most people get into boxing because they like to fight. So I would say to them to whatever they're interested in to create about that because you can tell when your heart is in it when you're genuine in it. I don't know if you heard of this name. My phone rang. I'm sorry. We have a lot of weird things that go on here in America. Have you heard of the name Khalil Azad?
No.
That's a guy, a black guy who was just found dead in a 2 feet river. He's 6 feet tall, and they say he drowned himself. But it's believed that the police department beat him and like beat him to death. The pictures are brutal. And what's I'm saying this because of what you said about what would I tell people. The way that makes me feel, I know I'm going to create something about that. I don't know what it's going to be. I don't know if it's going to be a post. I don't know if I'm going to mention it in a book or a story, but I know it's going to happen. I'm not when I think that thought, I'm not thinking about money. I'm not thinking about how. I'm not thinking about when. I just know it's going to happen. It's going to come up. So I would say if it's something you actually care about or actually you're into, just start from there because you're going to figure it out along the way. And you don't know how long you're going to be doing it or how short you're going to be doing it. But along the way, you're going to learn what you need to do, what you don't need to do, what you like to do, how to assess that, how to not be manipulated by people in the same industry. You just learn so much by action. So yeah, just take what you're interested in and work with that.
That is beautiful. That is so beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing. So, what is the message that you want to convey through your art? Like, is it different with every each artwork, or what is the core message that you want to convey?
There's not a core message.
Okay.
I believe you answered it while you were talking, but I would like to elaborate on that though because I think I'm more of the message. Uh, because I think I'm more interesting than my art. I think that how can I say this? I think that I'm aware that I'm a rare person, and it puts me in a position to, how can I say this? It puts me in a position to, I would be able to get away with anything in terms of art and bullshit it, but I don't do that. I'm Since I'm aware of my rareness, I only try to make genuine stuff. So I don't have a message in each piece. I think
Mm,
I'm more of the message because it has to. If I did it, it had to be genuine. So when I make a painting, I don't really paint like it'll be very thoughtful. Actually, I have a painting right here in my
you want to
studio.
short?
Yeah, it's in that corner right here. It's called Think Piece. Wow, this is a funny story.
Tell us
So
about.
the contents of this is a ladder. Let me get closer. We have a ladder here. Um, we have a light bulb here. It's kind of hard to see because the lights are on.
Yeah.
Oh man, we have books,
Mm-hmm.
a Rubik's cube. There's a. It's very hard to see. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. Yep.
We have a Rubik's cube. We have a upside down question mark, puzzle pieces, an atlas, a chessboard, and it's called Think Piece, and it's like just about thinking, like different things about thinkers and stuff like this. Now, the funny story is there's also mathematical stuff going on in there that I don't feel like pointing out, but it's a lot of math in it. Um, I saw a painting that just said "think," and I didn't know it was from one of my professors that I was taught by in your university. This painting, it was very. How could I make? It just said "think." That's all it said. It said "think," and for me, I I liked that. I liked that it was yellow for some reason. I believe it was yellow. I remember that, and I liked that it just said "think." But what I didn't like was that it was yellow and it just said think. And I remember writing that down and putting laugh out loud next to it. Like, dang, that's crazy. I like this and I don't like it. I was like, but what does it make me do? It made me stop and think. So I was like, thinkers would appreciate that painting. And then some time went by and I was like, I want to make a think painting. And I made that in my more so my style. So I forgot. Honestly, I forgot your question. I forgot what you asked me, but
It was
I
about
want
the
to make
message,
that
like what is
painting.
the message that you want to convey through your art. But I get that. Yeah, I
Yeah,
answered
yeah,
my.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just. I was. Oh yeah, the genuineness. I just. I genuinely make stuff to with intention. I was like, I really was thinking about. I should make a piece. I love to think. Like, let me make a piece about this because I think thinking is on the same frequency as meditation and prayer. And I really think that In that case, we're meditating or praying all the time. So you have to be very careful what you tell your brain. Um, and when I say this, I'm serious because when you're thinking because you don't know, or else you wouldn't think. You wouldn't if you knew you wouldn't you wouldn't think. Think well let's say not think. You wouldn't think about an answer if you already knew the answer. So when you when you meditate or you pray on your thoughts, you're communicating with yourself almost. So I really think that it's I genuinely believe that there's some divine order in thinking, or some divine energy in thinking.
I love that. I love that. I didn't know this is a conversation that this is the direction that we are going, but I love how we are having this conversation. It's just going with the flow and, being inspired, being in the flow, being in the
Yeah,
moment, and just let things unfold as it should. So
yeah.
since you show us your painting over there, I want to know what was your favorite piece of art or the best piece of art that you have ever created up to this day, and why? Why is that?
Well,
If you have any.
I have I have a few. So the best painting that I've ever painted, when I was in Germany, I painted a painting called the Mercury Retrograde. It
I
is the
actually saw
best. Yeah,
I
it
saw
is the best painting I ever created. It is the best one. I cannot. I'm trying to top it. I'm trying to do better than it. I don't know why I can't, but I have a goal to beat that painting, but I haven't beat it yet. It's about the phenomenon that astrologers call Mercury retrograde, and a lot of people into numerology or spirituality are into it. And during the Mercury retrograde, uh, it's said that the human experience is affected by the planets. So the example that they give us is that the moon, when there are full moons, there is more crime, or it affects people's emotions, or people become more emotional. And then during the Mercury retrogrades, your relationships, all of them, are affected, and they tell you to be very careful during this time period. And a lot of people break up or get together during these times. So I believe that the my experiences with these Mercury retrogrades brought that painting out of me. So I think that's my best painting. Now, my best book, I believe, is Coel's Diary. Um, it was actually inspired by my favorite photographer. His name is Gordon Parks. He did the famous pictures of Muhammad Ali. Most of the pictures you see of Muhammad Ali, Gordon Parks did those. And I wrote that novel when I was younger, and I rewrote it as I was like 20 or something, and I put it on Amazon. Um, Now that I think about it, it's probably butchered with the punctuation, but I was young. I don't care. And it's about a girl who who her father was not in her life, a black girl, and then she finds out that her father is white. And I really believe it's a good story on humanity. Um, the best, the third one, I believe, would be a script that I wrote that it's never been produced. It's a horror script. It's a sci-fi horror, and I sent it to some festivals. It hasn't got picked up yet, and I'll be looking to produce it. But it's a horror movie, sci-fi horror about It's called the. Well, they change titles of movies a lot, so I'll ignore the title. But since the book I was talking about is called Coel's Diary, it's on Amazon. The painting is Mercury Retrograde. This particular movie that I'm talking about, the script, I believe this is the best script I wrote. It's about a young Nigerian girl who pops up in people's dreams, but they don't have bad dreams. They have like she just is there. She's just there. And then her neighbor um decides to kidnap her. Um Amongst he changes his mind because he's like in this when I was younger, trafficking was a big deal. So I think I write about trafficking a lot. He's in this sex trafficking thing, and he just kills her instead. And the entire he does this is at the beginning of the movie. The entire film throughout, he she just tortures him and everybody that knows him. And I just really love it. I just really think it's like this is like dope. But again, I haven't done anything with it.
It's
Yeah.
gonna be, it gives me chills, just you
Oh,
mentioning it. Oh my god. Yeah.
yeah,
I
yeah,
personally don't watch horror movie, and that's why
yeah.
maybe
Okay, yeah,
I would be
yeah.
excited to watch this one if you were to produce it.
If I do,
So,
I'll send it to you. I'll email it
yeah.
to you.
So what are some of the exciting projects other than the stage play that is showing on April 10th? What else are you currently working on?
I just won a finalist position at a film festival for another script I wrote. It's called "Oh, You're in Trouble." It's about this kind woman who kidnapped the teacher. I don't know. I got so much kidnapping stuff. She kidnapped the teacher and posed as a teacher as a substitute uh, because she just was involved in a heist. And it's like a child play. It's funny. It's PG. I named all of the characters after my. I had a recent argument with my biological father, and I thought like, oh, I should write a short play about it. But I'm not gonna. It's not gonna be like about us. It's just will be inspired by. So, for example, my novel Coel's Diary, it's inspired by Gordon Parks' work. It's not his work. I watch his work. I look at what he did, and then I say, oh, let me try something along those lines. So it'll be like different story, but my take on it from a different point of view, and that is probably it until something else comes along. But I know I'll keep creating.
Yeah,
Artists
yeah.
don't really have that many plans. I have to work on this play right now. Oh, the
Mm,
play. Yeah, that obviously I have to play, and then the play got accepted to another festival, so I'll be doing the play again later on in the year.
yeah, awesome. As artists, I believe it's all about trusting the journey, going with the flow, because that's how artists work, right? They don't really
Yeah.
have a plan. They just trust their intuition a lot, trust their feeling a lot,
Yes.
and it's just how they work, how they function as an artist. And thank you so much for being here with us today. It's been a very wonderful conversation. And we always end our show with final five rapid fire questions. So every question has to be answered in one word or one sentence maximum.
Okay, I'm ready.
All right. The first question is, what is one thing you wish you knew earlier
About love,
about love? Wow, that's beautiful. Second question, if you could live your life all over again, what would you do differently?
I probably would have. I wouldn't have done anything. I wouldn't have done anything.
You wouldn't have done anything. You would still choose to go through what you have been through.
Yeah, I was. It is what it is. Okay. Yeah.
Beautiful. Third question, what is something you're trying to learn or curious about right now?
Oh man. Uh, More clinical psychology.
Okay, interesting. The next question is, if you have 5 minutes and the whole world was listening to you, what would you say?
Wow. I would talk about how ignorant racism is.
Definitely. Yeah. The last question is, what brings you joy?
Oh, this is easy. Um, Everything.
Wow.
Yeah, everything, even the bad things. If it wasn't for the bad, you can enjoy the good.
Wow. Wow. I love that. I love that.
You said I love that a lot in this interview.
Yeah, no, I really love that. It's, it kind of, I kind of have an aha moment when you said that. It's like everything, the good and the bad. It's
Yeah,
so simple, but you talk about being grateful. I mean, people talk about being grateful all the time, but it's true that you have to be grateful for everything that you have now.
yeah,
Yeah.
you
So
do.
thank you so much. And I'm sure a lot of people they want to get to know you more or work with you or connect with you. Where can I send people to you?
Artbykevo.com or my Instagram, Kevo Arts, KevoArts.
Okay, great. All right, guys, I'll put all the links in the show note below, and I hope you love this episode. You enjoy this episode. Go follow Kevo. Go to his website if you are Houston, make sure you buy the tickets and go watch his play that is showing on April 10th. I will put all the links in the show below, so make sure you go and check it out. And if you want to learn more about what I do and connect with me, go to my website, joyanchan.com, and also follow me on Instagram and tell us, take a screenshot of this episode if you are listening, if you are watching this. Tell us what is your biggest takeaway from this episode. If you have any question, you can also drop your question or send your question to Kevo or to me. And if you haven't subscribed yet, hit the subscribe button so you never miss another episode. And I will always leave you the same way as I leave you with every other episode. Show up. The world needs you and you need you. Thanks for listening, and I wish you all a joyful and amazing day ahead.